Let's talk about lefties for a second. The first thing that I generally recommend to lefties is find a low receiver that's ambidextrous, because at that point, you have some huge advantages. One, when you're up on target and you're shooting, when the gun stops, your eyes are able to see right into the chamber area right here. You can either see brass or an empty magazine. If you have a ambidextrous lower receiver, then you'll be able to release over in here and it won't be that big of an issue. Everything will be kind of the same as it is for a righty. However, if you're running a traditional lower receiver, then what you're going to do is your hand's going to be coming up here, thumb's going to depress this, you're going to strip and rip. New magazine's going to come in, and you're going to do one of a couple different ways in order to release the ping pong paddle. First way is your trigger finger's long enough and it'll drop it. Okay. Second, you can come up underneath in between the trigger guard and the magazine to drop it that way. I'm not a big fan of that. I figure I'm already here. It's easier to do this, drop the bolt and get back up on the front of the gun. So again, just a couple things to consider in regards to lefties. All right, last thing. We talked about this whole chamber check. Look into the receiver, determine whether you have a malfunction or not. You decide, yeah, you know what? It's not for me. I'm just gonna go with the flow and rock it. I'm not gonna look at the chamber, not gonna do it whatsoever. It doesn't really fit your lifestyle. So I'm gonna give you a couple ways out here. First thing, we know that 9 times out of 10, the magazines always drop out of the gun. But sometimes when there's a malfunction, sometimes the magazines don't drop out of the gun like they normally would. So first thing, you don't want to look, no big deal, and you go to drop the magazine. As soon as you go to drop the magazine, it's still in the gun. If it's still in the gun and it requires you to come up to it, which is what it's going to do, and rip this out of the gun, I don't want you to just rip it out and aimlessly throw it down on the ground. I want you to rip this out and look to see if you see brass. In the event you see brass, now you know, wait a minute, I'll stop. Can't be empty if I see brass. Now, let's just say you skip this step and immediately index another magazine, right? And as you index that other magazine with more bullets in it, you drive that in and seat it. Now, typically, you go right to the ping pong paddle, and then as soon as you go to the ping pong paddle, the bolt does what? It releases. Except this time, the paddle's flush. That's your last caution indicator light of stop doing whatever it is you're doing, roll this gun over and look to see why isn't this thing sticking out? Because if it's empty, it's gonna be sticking out. Because the next mistake you're gonna make is you're gonna reach up, because logic's gonna go, well, how do I get one in the chamber? And you're gonna grab the charging handle and you're gonna start to cycle the gun again. And I just want you to think about how far behind the power curve you are. So you don't have to do it my way, but just pay attention to a couple caution indicator lights that are letting you know, hey, something is wrong. First one would be seeing bullets, and the last one would be that the ping pong paddle is not sticking out with the bolt lock back to the rear.